But you know what I think, Kristen? So this is a very serious note.
All right, tell me.
I think the words we say means way more than what we think they might.
Mm,
And
okay.
here it is, as we're recording this, we're coming into the holidays.
Mhm.
It's very important that we're very careful with our words because it can be life changing, good and bad. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
I just read a book, or I just listened to a book. I'm an autobiography fanatic. And this was Ron Howard's autobiography. Actually, him and his brother Clint, which Ron Howard, you're much too young perhaps to know this, but
I
Ron Howard was Opie, right, on the Andy Griffith show, and he was telling about a story where he was 6 years old, right? So Ron Howard, very successful producer, very successful director. If you Google the movies that Ron Howard's directed or produced, it's the who's who in Hollywood, like major talent, right? Major talent. He was 6 years old. He was on the Andy Griffith show, and the gentleman that played the Cowardly Lion on The Wizard of Oz, like the original, right? Because you have to remember this is probably like in early 1960s, 61, 62, 63, somewhere in that range when he was
black
on
and
the
white.
Andy Griffith. Yeah,
Wizard
black and
of
white.
Oz.
Black
Yeah.
and white. Yep. So he was shooting the Andy Griffith show. He was Opie, 6 years old. They're doing a scene, but he's not in it. And the guest star was the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz. He wasn't in the lion suit, but the actor that played that, I can't think of his name. The actor that played that was a guest star on that week's show. And Ron Howard, as Opie, when he was 6 years old, said, "I couldn't believe it. It was like having Santa Claus on the set. Right? This was the Cowardly Lion. Right? It's a big deal. Right? Because the Wizard of Oz, huge movie at that time, still is today, but especially when it kind of first came out. So he was a guest star, and Andy Griffith and Don Knotts, or Andy and Barney, are shooting a scene, and Ron Howard, Opie, and the Cowardly Lion are off camera watching the other two do their scene. And at the end of the scene, when the director said cut, the Cowardly Lion looked at little Ronnie, who was 6 years old, and he said, "Ronnie, you're going to be a great director someday. You're going to be a great director someday because when they were shooting that scene, I'm watching how you're watching the cameraman and how you're looking at the angles and you're seeing how it's doing, and I can see you're going to be a great director."
Mm.
Right? So now this was a little 6-year-old boy. And in his book, he said, it was in that moment at that time, I decided I'm not going to pursue my acting career. I want to be a great director. I want to be a great director. And sure as the world, he acted only to get notoriety so that he could start, directing. And he became arguably one of the best directors in all of film history, like phenomenal success. And I thought about that after I listened to that story. I turned off the audiobook for a little bit. I'm riding my bike. I kind of listen to it on my bike early in the morning, and I'm just pondering that. And I thought, I bet if you'd have asked the Cowardly Lion 6 months later about that conversation, he'd have no recollection of it whatsoever. It was just oh, by the way. It was just at a grocery store, and the cashier says thank you, and you go, well, you were very kind, thank you. Like, you wouldn't remember it 6 months later, or maybe even 6 days later.
Yeah.
And yet that small little comment, those small words of encouragement, affected Ron Howard for the rest of his life. Hey there. Hey, if you're loving the tips so far, be sure to hit that subscribe button right down there and then tap the little bell so that you never miss out on more free, cool tips coming your way. Also, I would love to hear from you. Drop a comment beneath there. Let me know what you think or tell me what you'd like to hear next. And get this, Kristen. You think about all the actors that Ron influenced by being a director,
Mhm.
all the joy that he brought tens of millions, hundreds of millions, probably
Huge.
hundred,
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions of people
Mhm.
were entertained by his movies over time. And maybe that was a date night that you and the lucky Mr. Simpson went
Mhm.
to, happened to the first time y'all went and saw one of Ron's movies, and it put you in the right mood. You snuggled up to him a little bit during the movie, and and 9 months later, Kristen Jr. Comes out. Like, you think of all the people, if you look at the ripple effect that were affected by that one 15-second encounter, that our words are very powerful, very powerful. And here we are in the lending industry. We're helping people make major decisions, right? Likely, for most people, the biggest financial decision they'll make, the small words that we use, the words of encouragement, helping our real estate agents, helping our team members. Um, yeah, words of encouragement are a big deal. You can't make them up,
No.
right? That's manipulation, right? That's no good.
Exactly.
But real words of encouragement, these little simple things, it's so important. I think of the little things that I've had people tell me over the years. I've told many stories about when I was in college. I was a butler for a very wealthy man, and he
Mhm.
taught me about three or four principles that I've taught tens of thousands of loan officers across the nation, including you, Chris, and I've shared with. And he's been dead for 40 years. And still, these little small conversations he had, these little words of encouragement that he gave me, affected me my whole life. And so, as you're listening to this today and going into the holiday season, be nice, give words of encouragement. And whether that person's 6 years old or 96 years old, give people words of real words. I don't make something up, right? But real words, give words of encouragement. I think it's such a strong and powerful thing to do. And it just, you have no idea the ripple effects that it can have, that 40, 50 years from now, that person is sharing the story of that little insignificant conversation you had on that day that changed everything for them. So,
Such a great message.
yeah, that's our message for today. So, yep. If you need some words of encouragement, there we go. Got to do something here. If you need words of encouragement, like, hey, I need some help, I need some words of encouragement, give me and Kristen a call. You can talk to one of us or somebody in the office, getmoreloans.com,
Mhm.
getmoreloans.com, and we'll give you some information to be encouraged about. And it won't be fake, it'll be real. Don't do fake encouragement, say real things to real people, and we can really help you with your mortgage industry or with your mortgage business. So getmoreloans.com. We cool, Kristen?
I love it. Thanks, Carl.
Isn't that a great story?
Great story.
I love Ron Howard. So do you know who his brother is, by the way, Clint?
No, but for some reason, when you were saying Ron Howard, I was picturing Happy Days.
That's right. So that's Ron Howard. So he did Happy Days. He
All
was
right.
Opie.
All
He
right. There
was
we go. I thought that was him.
he
Yeah.
he did a lot of, but he quit doing that because he wanted to be a director because of the Cowardly Lion.
Mhm.
And so if you go Ron Howard, if you look up Clint Howard, you'll immediately recognize. Oh, I did not know that was Ron's brother. So he was in a ton of like B grade movies and television shows. Again, in primarily in the '60s, '70s, a little bit of the '80s. But you'll definitely recognize him when you Google him. So Clint Howard. So great
All
book. The book was called The Boys. The Boys, and it's autobiography. If you go on the audiobooks, read by Ron and his brother Clint, it was interesting. So yeah,
Oh,
that's
I
it.
love
But
that.
before you go do that, go to getmoreloans.com, then go listen to the book.
There we
So
go.
I
Okay.
appreciate you, Kristen.
All right. Thanks, Carl. Have a good day, everybody.
Okay, okay, my friend. Bye bye. Hey, Kristen. By the way, have I told you lately how wonderful you are?
Oh,
I
Carl.
love doing these podcasts with you. I do. I just absolutely love doing these podcasts. You just bring such a great energy. And I know it's a cliche, but it's so true. You make me a better me, and I appreciate you because of it.
I appreciate you too, Carl. Thank you.
All right, my friend. All right, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye bye.